Hi, I'm Dave.
Hi, I'm Robin.
Welcome
to Schoolwide
Download.
All right, welcome back to Schoolwide Download. I am Robin.
And I'm Dave. And today we're going to dive into a topic, or subject matter that it's exciting and it's terrifying and it's capable and it's the future, but it's now.
Yeah.
We're talking about artificial intelligence.
I feel like it consumes everything that we talk about in this tech space. It's in our emails. It's helping us grade papers. It's probably listening to us right now.
Yeah, so ChatGPT or Google Gemini, if you're listening, we come in peace.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting everything that we've done. I credit you. So, taking a step backwards, this episode is titled Building an AI-Ready District.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does that look like? What are the reasons, of which there are certainly many, of what that should encompass? How do you handle it? And we'll kind of jump into that with both feet.
Yeah, it's kind of shaping our schools right now. Our students are becoming more familiar with it. We have teachers that are familiar with it. But the big question is your district ready? Are you putting policies and things in place to prepare for this? It's happened so quickly.
Right.
Like I feel like, it's the last probably 3 years, I would say, that it's really come full force.
Right.
And we keep saying it's not going away. So what is your district doing to prepare to be ready?
Yeah, and we were talking before the episode about, so in looking at AI, like what's the last time we had something that was so much of a game changer that affected or impacted a district from student to staff? And when I say staff, we're not just talking teachers. We're talking all district staff can utilize this, can leverage this. It's something that has arrived in education as it's arriving in business.
Yeah.
So it's not just new in our space, it's new and it's having an impact in all lines of work, in all aspects of society. And that doesn't happen.
I even had a hard time kind of coming up when you asked me that. Like, I couldn't even think of anything. I'm like, I don't know. And anything I did think of was related to technology. So like I can think of like internet, like that was a big thing that happened. Or you mentioned like devices, cell phone, that's kind of impacted schools, but everything's kind of related to technology. I can't really think of anything that's happened in our time that's like this, that's making this much of an impact and making us have to develop policy.
Yeah, I don't even, because when we were thinking about that question, I'm thinking, well, I can remember when I first started in education, educators were panicking because their grades were going to go in this thing called the cloud.
Yeah.
Well, that was just
still
technology,
but it's still technology.
But it's still technology. Yeah. So what we're going to kind of look at today is I think we can all agree that you want a district to build and be ready for AI in all those different levels in which we mentioned. So what we're going to look at, what does AI ready look like? Mm-hmm. Is there leadership involved? Is there training involved? Who gets trained? What type of culture does allows for this to be addressed?
Yeah, because I don't think you just need a lead anymore. I think it's more about encompassing the whole district. Like it's not something you can say, I've got my lead here, here, and here. They're my AI leads. Mm-hmm. I think you need to include everybody. And we are going to debate, when you do roll this out, is this a start with teachers, start with the people that are using it within the students, or do you go top down? Do you start at your district level and have it trickle down? So we'll debate that a little later.
Right. And so, I can say in Robin and I's experiences over the last couple of years, to kind of just emphasize how districts are looking at this, I would say this is one of the more commonly requested professional developments. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the evolution that I've seen, and Robin, I don't know if your experiences are the same, is a lot of districts in our county first wanted this to be addressed and discussed relative to how teachers should or could leverage this with their responsibilities. So real simple examples like how can it support them with lesson planning? How can it support them with differentiated instruction? And most of the districts I've worked with they wanted to hold on, which I understand because they weren't maybe necessarily sure where they wanted to go, to addressing student usage till they had already addressed teacher usage.
Yeah, and I can pretty safely say, just speaking with our districts, I don't think any of them are in a space of student usage yet. And maybe we'll find out like later on this year.
Right.
But everybody's really nervous and hesitant on that end. But guess what? Kids are using it.
Right.
It's like everybody wants to prepare for this moment, and it's like it's already happening.
Well, and I think that's not a critique. It's just an observation.
Yeah.
But
they probably are aware too.
But it's a reasonable observation because, as we've addressed in other episodes, some of the tools to make sure that AI is not involved in student work are not without fault or not fallible. Yeah. They're not infallible.
Absolutely.
So it's like, okay, how do we want to attack that or address that? Mm-hmm. It's logical. But what we're talking about today, that certainly is a piece. Mm-hmm. However, how do we, because this doesn't just impact teachers and students, this impacts the entire district. What does this AI ready mean? And it's not as simple as, all right, just check that box, Robin.
No,
it
is not.
Every employee in District XYZ, they got a ChatGPT or Gemini account. We're done.
Exactly. It's not there. This is not just like adopting that or buying a software. This is a mindset change. This is, it's about curiosity. It's about caution and then willingness to rethink how we learn and how we teach with this tool. So it's not, I can remember like when they rolled out like TBTs or BLTs, that was like a new thing. We picked like the one person to lead it and then they were the lead. This isn't that. This is like, we need everybody on board to be within this movement. So, and I think some districts think AI ready means like that they have adopted those key things. Like Gemini's on their computer, their district has it, check. We've checked that box. And I think it's so much more than that, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just, the first step isn't necessarily adding AI to our, I know not everybody calls it their waffle.
Yeah.
If you're in Google or ChatGPT, it's not that, it's the trust that people are going to use it positively. People are going to, understand hypothetically that every now and then AI does make mistakes. So there's still, there's efficiencies that can be gained, but we got to make sure that we're doing it appropriately.
And you know what? We're pretty fortunate because in the state of Ohio, we have adopted an AI policy handbook. Mm-hmm. They just updated it, right?
In December.
Okay, so I mean, we're fortunate that we are ahead of the game. I do feel like our state is ahead of the game on this. So that's something to definitely check out if you're a district leader. That handbook is super helpful.
And even if, and I think sometimes especially when we're dealing with newer things, you may not like exactly how they're drafting things up. But I do think there is some positive thought based on, well, at least we're thinking about it.
Yeah.
At least we're making an attempt to address it. We've got this statewide guidance that is going to evolve over time because the technology is still, to me, I've heard people say this and I think it's true, which is kind of frightening, that as amazing as AI currently is, we're kind of still in the dial-up stage.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's only going to continue. And I think in the ed tech space that we're both active in, rarely does a week go by where some tool we've used adds some new feature or some tool now.
I think I'm behind the game over break. Like Christmas break, I feel like I've let my guard down. I'm not on the top of it. I think too, we hear from leaders, they're treating this AI implementation like a long game, a slow, deliberate, collaborative effort. They're going to take this slow. They are creating task forces, policies. They are allowing teachers to pilot tools before, deciding on them, which I think is the right way to go.
Yeah, and I think schools that are doing it well, they're valuing and listening to input and feedback from teachers, not telling them necessarily how to do it, but being involved in that process. And one of the things I do want to point out too, when we talk about building a district policy, there are frameworks in place that can assist you with this work, and they don't all necessarily cost anything, which sometimes in our profession that's rare. But for example, one that I've worked extensively with is through the COSIN organization. They have a K-12 generative AI tool, maturity tool, that's available online, available free to use, that really, in many senses of the word, provides districts with a free tool to audit or self-audit.
Yeah, that's
where
amazing.
is my district right now?
So useful too. It's right there.
Yeah, so don't think that I have to go sign a contract and have, I mean, there's definitely things that can be done to support a district in doing this, but there's tools out there that can provide a framework to kind of look at your district from top to bottom when it comes to AI.
Yeah, one of our local district leaders had referenced AI fluency the same way that they once built digital literacy, which I thought was interesting. It's not about mastering one tool, but it's about understanding the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
And when she said that, I thought, oh, that makes sense. So think about that within your district. That digital literacy, a lot of us, not all, we have that policy in place. That has been in place for a number of years. Looking at that as kind of like a framework when you're looking at your AI policy.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we mentioned earlier was some districts' paths or pathway to looking at AI starts with staff and eventually is shifting or moving to students. Not that there's any sense of being naive to their usage, but there's an order and a sequence to doing things.
Yeah.
But obviously, like you mentioned, Robin, kids and students are using it. And so I think one of the things that a bigger picture aspect of your district policy is creating a culture of acceptable use. So I think we have to be careful as educators. If we're leveraging AI to help design a lesson, if I was in the classroom right now, I would let my students know I'm leveraging AI to help. Because I think it's, you can't use it, but we're using it. I think you just have to be kind of careful with those types of things.
Part of that navigation piece.
And I know there are tools out there, some more effective than others, that can actually generate feedback, can do grading. I think those are ones you need to be very careful with, not to not trust it, but
to let your
student
students know. Yeah, absolutely. Then that also transitions us into that mindset shift. Our students making them aware, but not all of our teachers are ready for this shift. It's hard. Change is hard. AI, being AI ready isn't ready for everybody. Changing a culture takes time. And if your building and district is in the process, keeping that in the back of your mind that not everybody's ready for it, like you might be ready for it.
Yeah, and not everybody's excited about this. So in a hallway of 10 teachers, you got 5 teachers that every day have a little conversation. Oh my gosh, this makes this so much easier. Well, then maybe you have other staff that have seen the other side of this. Well, I saw this post on social media. Well, it's an AI, it's a deep fake. Like that's not good. Well, there's 2 sides of it. You just have to understand that everybody in a district staff is going to have different feelings or a different take on how good or bad that this is.
Yeah, and I think districts that do this well are the ones that aren't going to rush.
Yep.
Even though I'm the one that's like pushing some of my districts, like, come on. But you know what? At the end of the day, they might be doing it the right way. They're inviting the conversation. They're including teachers. They're giving them space to explore, fail, to decide, what they want. And then in that respect, then you're going to win because in the end, you've got the buy-in, you've got your entire district and staff on board. And just knowing that, AI is not going to replace that relationship. We talked a lot this season about culture and building that culture. And I think that's really important to not just shove this AI, kind of like tech thing in their face and not get that relationship piece and ask them about how they feel with it.
Yeah, and what parts of your workflow can this make more efficient or enhance? It's not going to replace you. Ultimately, teaching, in my opinion, has always been there's a little bit of performance, there's a little bit of artistry, and that's something that a tech tool cannot necessarily duplicate.
It's funny because it makes me think like we're adding one more thing, like we're adding another thing.
Which is never good.
No, I know. So it makes me think, I read an article in Education Leadership and it was called Cleaning House, How Districts Are Rethinking Ed Tech. And they mentioned that you can't start trimming if you don't know what you have. and why you have it. And so if anybody's opened up your curriculum closet in your building or in your district, it's got like a treasure of like all the things, and all the programs and so keeping in mind, like maybe you need to do that like technology audit to kind of see what you already have, what can you cut away and cut back to add this next element.
Yeah, and it's not AI or teachers.
No.
It's AI with
existing
teachers.
with them, yeah.
So it's going to amplify or enhance things that are already being done, and AI can hopefully make you stronger. So should we debate?
I think so.
All right. So for this part, we're going to talk about a simple question. Should your district AI strategy start with teachers, or should it start in a more, I'm going to call it a top-down type of rollout from district leadership? So I will
go ahead and begin. Take a side, and I'll go. You can go first.
All right, I will take the right side.
Okay.
So I'm going to say that this should start with leadership.
Okay. So you're taking the top-down approach.
Yes.
Okay.
I do think, and I'm always open to suggestions and conversation, I think if district leadership becomes the lead learner, or if a policy regarding artificial intelligence, because this is not just a policy for teachers, it's for clerical staff, it's for bus drivers, it's for support staff, it's for custodians, it's for, like, everybody can benefit and interact in some degree. I think if we start with leadership, kind of opening up the conversation. So I'm not saying leadership dictating, I'm saying leadership
Okay, that's
leading.
a good point.
I'm saying leadership starting or opening the conversation.
So I am not a top-down approach kind of person, especially I do a lot of curriculum adoptions within districts, and I'm a huge proponent of including bottom up almost. Like I feel like you start at your ground level and you start there, because I feel like that's going to give you your real pain points. You're going to get a real feel for what the building and the district needs. And if you come top down heavy, people just revolt against it. Not even if they might not even disagree, they just do it out of because it came from the top. So I think maybe you have a team, an AI team of teachers that are making decisions with the top down to kind of help to bring that along, because from my experience, you really need that buy-in for it to succeed. And I think starting with your teachers, you're going to get the real, like that's where your policy is going to develop. I really think that it's going to be more authentic. It's going to be more it's doable. It's reality.
So I guess what I'm thinking is this is not top down in the sense of here's what you are going to do.
Okay.
I think it's a willingness for district leadership to be the conversation starters. So I envision, I think something similar to what you think would be more desirable for everybody, which is the leader takes the leadership role in establishing a task force or a committee relative to AI for the district with different members coming from different roles to start the conversation about how can we do this effectively, what safeguards do we need to be aware of, and how can we leverage this technology to maximize what I think we're all in the same space for, and that's to make sure that our kids are successful.
Because a lot of times, unfortunately, our district leaders, no offense to them out there, and my husband's one of them, you forget what it's like to be in the classroom. Even we do, you know what I mean? We're not in every day. And so that's where I think teachers get that taste in their mouth of I want to do it my way, or you're not in my shoes kind of. So as long as you're building this task force team and you're including, so it's not really a top-down approach. What you're suggesting and what I'm suggesting is a combination of the two and bringing everybody along as a district.
Well, I think, so ultimately we are collaborating in a way where district leadership is saying, I get you, this is important.
Yeah.
We need to discuss this.
Yeah.
And
even hearing the ones that are not on board, I think is even bringing those naysayers into that group, because they offer an insight that
It's a perspective that's very important.
It is. Depending if your district's small or large. I think the task force team idea is kind of the where you need to start. So if your district has not developed that, I think that's the way to begin.
Absolutely.
And that way you can offer all the different insights from across your district with leaders and teachers and down to even clerical staff and getting that input.
So I think for a try this tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think kind of we can do it at a granular level where if you're an educator, try simple. But I think because we're thinking at a district level, I think what you just said is probably the most logical. Try this out. If you're a teacher and you're just curious, does our district have
That's what I'm saying, just
an
maybe
AI
ask.
committee? Does it have an AI task force? If it doesn't, is that something that we should consider putting together? Because our kids are using it. I can assure you, even if you're a teacher in a district that you're not personally using AI, somebody on your staff is. One of your colleagues is using it.
Absolutely.
I jokingly say, and I'm say this, so Chris, I apologize in advance. I know my superintendent has been using AI. Maybe he's just using it like Grammarly. Just going to put that out there. But the quality of his weekly memos has dramatically increased over the past several months, maybe a year or so.
Yeah.
So we're using it, but let's have a holistic district-wide conversation on how to make sure that we're doing this.
And I think, like you said, for Try This Tomorrow, if you are unaware of a task force team or something that's been created, speak up. Or go to your building leader and say, hey, have you thought of this? I was listening to a podcast and they talked about a task force team. And that just might start the conversation to where the district realizes, oh my gosh, that's a great idea.
And don't panic if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't think my district has talked about this.
You are
not behind.
No, not at all.
And for those of you that this is a conversation that you've had, I firmly believe this is an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
So you're not going to have a couple of committee meetings and
okay, no, this is ongoing.
On
This is a big thing. Like we said, this is the biggest thing we can really think of.
Yeah, exactly. So
all right. Well, thank you for joining us. So whether your district is starting their AI journey and they do not have that task force team, or your district's a little bit further and you just think, you know what, you need to add some teachers onto that team. Maybe they don't have that. Try one of those things, but we're glad you could listen to us.
Yeah, and so with artificial intelligence, it impacts all of us, so don't be afraid to speak up about what you should be learning, how you should be training, what should be happening. And once again, thanks for joining us on this episode, and we look forward to your feedback and comments in future episodes.
Thanks.